Bippity boppity boo. Alright, jokes aside, over the last 3 months, I've been able to more than double my strength gains and also put on around 5 pounds of muscle, which is a freaking game changer for myself. And I've done this all by working out for only 60 minutes every single week and from the comfort of my own home. Anyways, this video is going to be broken up into 3 main pieces. What the heck is the X3 bar actually? The pros and cons, and then my results and experience so far, and what I'm going to be doing in the future. Like always, there's a bunch of timestamps down below, so feel free to jump around the video. And if you're new here, my name is Mike, and we're all about exploring how to become the healthiest versions of ourselves and hopefully live to 100 years old. And before we jump in, I've noticed that only a small amount of people that actually watch my videos are subscribed, so please feel free to do that down below. All right, let's keep going. All right, so let's catch everyone up to speed. The X3 bar is a solution created by Dr. John Jacquish, otherwise known for his monstrous biceps. And it's essentially going to allow us to use variable resistance training to maximize time under tension for our muscles to ideally get the most amount of growth in the shortest amount of time. Oh, and doing all this in an Olympic barbell that matches up quite well with the human physiology, and not to mention is focused on reducing the amount of stress in your joints. And the entire thing is made up of these 4 resistance bands, a base plate to stand on for exercises like bicep curls, and also this Olympic barbell. And what makes the X3 bar different than the other tools out there is usually you're just supposed to do an exercise from 0 to 100%, and once you can't do 100% of the movement anymore, you stop. But instead with the X3 bar, you're going to take a movement, say like the bench press, and you're going to go all the way from 0 to 100%, then you're gonna push as far as you can for 80% of the movement, then for 60, then for 40, until the point you literally can't push anymore. And that's your one set, and that's your only set for that exercise. And because of this, you're literally able to get an insane freaking workout in like 15 to 20 minutes max. Then you just throw on a bit of stretching to maximize those gains, and Bob's your uncle. And the last interesting point on this is as we're going through the various ranges of tension, so say 100% of the movement and 80%, the resistance, so the amount of weight that you're pushing or pulling is going to vary. So at the top of the movement, you can have all the way up to like 500 pounds. But on the bottom of the movement, you can have as little as like 50 pounds. And that's what really allows our joints not to get stressed out and injured. All right, now let's talk about the pros and the cons. And I'm going to give you my opinion and be as honest as I possibly can. Okay, so relative to other gym equipment, this is quite easy to travel with. However, big stipulation here. It is freaking heavy. This is a proper barbell. It is small, but it is a proper barbell, meaning it is heavy as shit. The same thing with the base plate, very heavy. So if you have a check-in bag or something like that, it's going to add a bunch of weight to it. Also, if you're like me, crazy, and decided to travel with just this bag and wanted to bring this along, I got through the airport once where they didn't pick up the barbell and it was fine. But another time they did, and I missed my flight and got completely screwed. So keep that in mind. There's pros and cons, and you're probably gonna have to pay for the additional weight. All right, so number 2 is going to be you have no excuses to work out, or in my case, at least less excuses. The thing is, you have this at all times in your home. You can easily get a pump in, and it's literally going to take you, if you want, even 10 minutes. So the thing is, there's just going to be less friction associated with working out, and if you want to get in a quick 10-minute pump, you can do that. However, for myself at least, I have definitely not been perfect, and I'm building it up to slowly do more and more. I'm currently around 4 times a week, but I'd love to get up to 6 times a week, which is what the program recommends. Again, keep in mind, this is not an hour workout, not anything like that, so the stress load is not comparable. Next, we've got the X3 bar is quite well built. It's not perfect, nothing's perfect, but it's very well built. Like the steel and its weight and everything like that. The resistance bands, all awesome. However, there's like a little tiny flaw that I did find just recently. This thing popped off. It's right here, but honestly, it's just a bit of glue. You can stick it back on. Everything's metal except for the resistance bands. So trust me, this thing ain't going anywhere. I'm pretty confident that I can put this back on, but if there is any issues, like I've seen some people have issues with their resistance bands kind of like getting little nicks in them. I personally haven't had anything, and I know in their cases they usually just reach out to customer support and it's usually good to go, but your mileage may vary. Number 4 is for all the productivity nerds out there. Your workout is going to be more effective than ever. If that is something you want, this will give it to you. It's not going to be insane where you get like the most hypertrophy ever, but if you want a damn really good pump in a very short period of time, this is going to do it for you. Number 5, if you're kind of a beginner and a newbie when it comes to exercising, or you just don't know all of the science and stuff behind it, and you ideally want recommendations, myself included, there's a program where Dr. John Jacquish walks you through all of this, so you can check that out. And finally, like I've said now a couple times, if you're just doing this, this is going to ensure that you're not overtraining. However, we have other things like CrossFit where these guys are just pushing their bodies to the brink. I think there are a lot of advantages of things like EMON, every minute on the minute. But again, anything pushed too much is not good. And if you have an Oura ring and you can see your HRV, you can probably tell if you're pushing yourself too hard or not. Now we've got the cons. I'm in a really weird mood today. I don't know why, but we're still gonna do the video. So if you're a data nerd like me, this is kind of annoying because it's really hard to track my progress. I kind of found a solution in Notion where I can take each of the exercises and I'm tracking how far I can get from 0 to 100%. It's not really accounting for any of the movements from 0 to 80 and below, but it's at least something I can still strive for and ensure that I'm progressing in a positive direction instead of just guessing and checking. And this is much more preferred for me instead of just guessing everything and just, yeah. I don't want to do that. Like you guys know, I believe in what gets measured, gets managed. So that's what I want to do. The next thing is the X3 bar is goddamn pricey. Like, there are other good solutions for exercising out there. Again, if you're a productivity nerd and you just want to get in something quick, slide in the X3 bar. But for like $500 plus 75 USD for shipping, if you're outside of the US like me, plus import costs, damn, my bank account is suffering right now. The gains aren't, but suffering. And on that topic, it is like quite hard to get outside of North America. Like, as you guys know, I'm in Poland at the moment, and I literally had to wait like a freaking month for my thing. It might have been because I purchased it on Black Friday, but still, it took forever, and it was a bunch of extra money. And in an ideal world, it would be more accessible. I know I might be asking for too much from y'all, but it would be nice. Consider it. And the final thing is you can potentially get bored of the movements. I'm currently starting to feel this after 3 months, but I'd rather just have an easy solution, and I don't mind not being able to have that variety. It's not the end of the world for me, but for other people that want to be able to do a bunch of different stuff, the gym, once it opens, is probably going to be the best solution for yourself. All right, so now I'd love to share my progress in the last 3 months and the decisions that I've made to make that progress in the amount of time that I've worked out on a weekly basis, which again is not following the program at all, just what I've done. And the thing is, my goal is to just get jacked. So far, I've been able to more than double in each of the movements, except for excluding the row. I am having a ton of problems there. And relative to my weight, I started at like 155 pounds. I peaked at around 165. Now I'm averaging around 160. I'm pretty sure that's just because I had a bunch of other things come up in my life, and I'm not able to manage my calories as well as I was doing before. But my goal is to get to at least around 170, potentially even a bit more. Why? Because my brother is jacked, and seeing it, I'm just like, I want this bad. And at the same time, I'm wanting to elevate my heart rate because I know there is a bunch of benefits for cardiovascular health and everything along that. So making sure I'm active on a daily basis. And again, my application has not been perfect, but I am a firm believer of use a tool that works for you and that allows you to be consistent. I have been extremely consistent on a weekly basis for at least working out at a minimum twice, which is great because I can slowly build up the volume over time. Oftentimes we will start a habit and immediately need to push ourselves super hard, but then we don't form the habit because at a certain point we just decide to skip this week or skip another week and then skip another week, and then we're back at ground zero. So I'm trying to go gradually, and soon I will be a Gymshark athlete and nice and jacked. Also, not to mention a couple other tips that I've been doing that I learned about in a podcast with Ben Greenfield and John Jacquish that were talking about one of his books, which is essentially after you work out, to maximize hypertrophy, we want to be getting a little stretch in for each of the muscles that we just worked. That essentially allows us to like stretch the muscle like a balloon. Also, we want to super hydrate the muscle, and to do that, I'm using creatine monohydrate, specifically the version which is Creapure. And a side note, on creatine, there's also a bunch of like benefits for brain health. So yeah, I'm doing that again. And then also, as mentioned in the podcast, after my workout, I'm having a bit of carbs to maximize my gains. So in my case, that's squash, sweet potatoes, or some rice. And to offset my spike in glucose from the carbohydrates, I'm using berberine, in this case dihydroberberine, recommended by Lucas Aoun, and from a company called Alpha Lion, specifically called Glucovantage. I'm actually running out and I need to get more. By the way, if you're interested in learning more from that podcast, like always, it is down below. All right, on top of all this, when it comes to gains, I want to stress that it is not all going to come from exercising and eating well and stretching. There's also huge other things that we need to get correct. Sleep. Sleep is crucial. You are gaining muscle when you are sleeping. When you're exercising, you're more so making little micro tears in the muscle that can recover and grow. And then when it comes to nutrition, we ideally want to be at a caloric surplus if we're trying to gain muscle, and not to mention at the same time, we want to be eating real whole food instead of all that processed shit and cutting out those seed oils and all of that other just meh. So on a final note, I'm personally going to continue using the X3 bar. Why? Because I have it, and again, it allows me to be as effective as possible in the shortest period of time, and I can be consistent. Some other options, if you want to more so be doing bodyweight stuff until we're able to go back to the gym, is going to be the Kino Body workout programs, or also the Athlean X workout programs, or there's honestly just a bunch of videos on YouTube that you can follow. So if that's you, I recommend just following that path. Anyways, I hope that was helpful. And if you're interested in more content like this, be sure to check out this video here, which is me tracking my blood sugar, and it allows me to know which food is good and bad for my blood sugar levels. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.